Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mita Kaur. I'm chair of the Board of Trustees of the Royal Town Planning Institute, and it is my absolute pleasure to welcome you to these proceedings and this event. What is it? Well, obviously it's the inauguration of the new president of the RTPI for 2025. So what happens today? Well, we see the current president become the outgoing president and hand the presidential baton to our incoming president. What I mean by presidential baton, obviously, is this very heavy gold chain that's sitting around Lindsay's neck, so that will be passed over, obviously. This will actually be my third time of being at this event and having the privilege of doing this, but it's also going to be my final time because this is my final year of my term as chair of the board. So I did want to say that it has actually been a very great privilege to be able to be involved in this in some small way each year for the last 3 years. We've had some amazing presidents during that time. Last year was no exception. This year will be no exception. So, a bit more about them. We are once again enormously lucky to have a fantastic incoming president in the form of Helen Fadipe. Helen is passionate about planning. She's passionate about planners. She's very passionate about diversity in planning. She is obviously a founder of the hugely successful BAME Planners Network. I've known Helen for a number of years, worked with her on various RTPI matters. I'm really excited about seeing Helen as our president this year. I think that Helen will once again bring something new and fresh to that role, something that's uniquely Helen, actually, I think. And at a time when we've got a lot of new and fresh things coming into the planning world, I don't think we could have asked for anything better. However, before we hear Helen's inauguration speech, which I'm sure we're all very, very keen to hear, I'll first be turning to Lindsay Richards to hear some reflections from her on her presidential year. You're still our chair at the moment, not quite out of it just yet. I think it's safe to say that Lindsay has had a fantastic year as president. She has been everywhere. She has done everything. She has talked to all the people. She has got boundless energy and enthusiasm. Don't know where she gets it from, for all things planning and everything else. Having said that, she very much dances to the rhythm of her own drum, I think. She does truly dance like no one is watching. I can attest to this, having seen her at an event where that was the most joyful and happy thing that event has ever experienced before or since. I know, I'm there every year. She appears to be having the most fun at all times, and she takes everyone with her. So on that note, I'm going to hand over to you, Lindsay Richards.
This is it. So, good afternoon to our guests, and in particular, Helen's guests, who have travelled far and wide to support her in what will be an exciting year to come. It's been an honour and a privilege to be the 110th President of the Royal Town Planning Institute, and as anticipated, it's been quite a year. I've undertaken many visits, contributed to and spoken at many conferences, met many of our members, and we've had a general election. And only 2 housing ministers, quite unheard of in recent times. And above all, it certainly feels like a turnaround for our profession, or the start of it. In my inauguration speech last January, I talked about the key role that planning makes within our communities, its contribution to the local and national economy, how planning addresses environmental challenges and strives for more equitable society. But I raised about the lack of the understanding of our role in society and the built environment, not something new, and the reasoning behind it takes planners and campaign. I talked about us all becoming planning influencers and taking on the mantle to raise the profile of planning. I introduced Planning Our Future to ensure planning was at the forefront in conversations and of the built environment, including climate change, the rural environment, ecology, heritage, and the likes of flooding. I wanted to specifically channel awareness and understanding of planning towards young people and achieve an early interest in planning as a career choice and building that pipeline of young planning professionals. And as part of that conversation, I wanted planners to continue addressing misinformation, which is fueling much of the anti-planning headlines and social media. I'm sure some of you, many of us maybe, saw the article last year in the Times, published by the Times, written by Rowan Silver, and it had a sensational headline. It caused some kickback and a significant response from the sector. But the Times failed to publish our response. Enough said. We don't get those headlines. So unless we address this anti-planning and this lack of understanding, but also lack of knowledge about what planning actually is, then we are never going to build the pipeline of our profession and the numbers required to support the government's aspirations for growth. This month, we saw the report of the survey undertaken in 2023 by MHCLG, looking at local authority planning capacity and skills. And in fact, we were talking about that this afternoon in our General Assembly. It makes pretty shocking reading, but unfortunately, nothing really unexpected in its content and reporting. The headline are around capacity, recruitment and retention in local planning authorities. But actually, how things change over a year. We saw £50 million funding in October budget last year, specifically to support planning capacity, and last month, £14 million to support the implementation of policy changes contained within the NPPF. It's a start, and it's recognition that planning is key in supporting the delivery of the government's ambitions for growth. I'd love to say it's all about me, but actually it's about us as a profession and us as professionals. As president of the RTPI, I have represented over 27,000 plus of our members in our regions, nations, overseas. And over the year, I have seen the dedication, the commitment and the professionalism of those members. And there is a growing understanding of the contribution and the added value that planning makes through the work of those individuals and those planning teams. And this has been recognised through the start of what I think Simeon referred to as the emergence of a pen-pal relationship, because I received not one but 2 letters from the Housing Minister, Matthew Pennycook. And in those letters, there was a reference to the critical role of planners and an enormous respect for planning profession, and also a quote from the Deputy Prime Minister referring to skilled professional planning officers as agents of change and drivers of growth, and who play a crucial role in delivering the homes and infrastructure the country needs. A commitment was given to enhance capacity and capability within local planning authorities. I share the Minister's belief that it's an exciting time to be a planner, shaping our places to meet the needs of our communities, to support economic growth and address nature recovery and climate change. It's a positive start from a new government, and that enormous respect for planners and dedication in the work they undertake is exactly what I saw during my visits to the nations and regions, attending many of the regional excellence awards and visiting a number of our excellent planning schools. This year, I have visited waste disposal plants, solar farms, city parks, numerous building sites. Helen, it's not all glamorous, I tell you. And on top of that, I've talked with dinosaurs, participated in ministerial roundtables, attended and spoken at many conferences, including many of those organised by our volunteers. These include NAPE, which is the Enforcement, Planner Live North, the Independent Consultancies, RTPI, Urban Design, the Government's Planners Conference, Scotland and Northern Ireland annual conferences, Planning Officers Society Conference, and of course the RTPI Young Planners Conference. I've visited the width and breadth of the UK, Ireland, Dublin, Belfast, Glasgow, Cardiff, Guernsey, Jersey, Manchester, Liverpool, Newcastle, Sheffield, Bournemouth, Taunton, Nottingham, Brighton, Birmingham, and also Lancaster and Morecambe, my hometowns. And visits to many, many of the planning schools. I've been to the University of West England, University College London, Bartlett School, Universities of Sheffield, Birmingham City, Liverpool, Anglia Ruskin, Queens, Ulster, Reading, Hertfordshire. And those visits have demonstrated that we have the best planning schools with the best academics and teaching staff and the best students who are our pipeline of our future planning profession. Our planning schools support the successful RTPI apprenticeship programme and the LGA pathways into planning, adding further diversity of background and knowledge from our young professionals. These programmes are supporting our pipeline, but they need to continue to grow capacity further and complement other initiatives, including the Planning Skills Fund and supporting our mid-career local authority planners. Last year, I launched Balance. This is an updated toolkit for our members to use to go into schools, especially in underrepresented communities. And this is in order to expand the reach of our volunteers and school ambassadors and to promote planning as a career choice. Alongside that launch, I made a call to all RTPI members to use the toolkit to devote at least 2 hours of CPD to go into schools and to champion planning. And this year, I will be doing my part as past president, and I intend to visit as many schools and universities and career fairs to talk about planning with students, and I give you that my commitment. This year has not been without great sadness. 2 individuals who are not with us today, 2 of our esteemed professors, Professor Patsy Healy and Professor Tony Crook. Tony was my tutor at Sheffield University, and I made specific mention to Tony in my inauguration speech last year. He wasn't just an academic, a researcher, the CBD, the fellow, the trustee, the committee panel and advisory member. He was that supportive, kind and caring individual who gave his time and advice freely. He was a champion of planning and volunteering. That is the first time I've been moved to tears. I'm sorry. So now in closing, I have 2 final jobs to do. And I've many people to acknowledge who have shared my journey and who have provided me with guidance and support over the year. And it's really hard to know where to start on this. But before that, I'm pleased to announce the President's Award. And actually, there are so many worthy individuals and teams who made my shortlist. Well, actually, it was a very long list. Because of the quality of staff and because of the teams and the individuals I've met. So in making this award, and this award goes to the Planner Journal, and Simon Wicks, and Ben, and Laura, I can't see Laura. And this is in recognition of the positive working relationship between the planner and the RTPI, the quality of editorials and the value of the publication to our RTPI members. So I'd like to invite Simon and Ben up to receive this award from me. Ben, come up.
Come on. Whoops. Great.
Well done.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So in my thanks, I start with the RTPI team who have supported me, who have been kind and patient, who've answered all my questions and helped organise me. This includes the exec team, Joe Davis and Paula Athwell, the governance team, the comms and events team, education and lifelong learning, the membership team, events, IT support, policy and research, international, regions, the regional coordinators and the national directors, a fantastic team surrounding me. I want to also thank all our volunteers, including the chairs and vice chairs of the networks, including young planners, urban design, enforcement, independent consultants. Many I've met, and alongside the regional coordinators, organised visits, included me in receptions and invited me to be part of the Excellence Awards. I thank you for your time, your commitment, and the energy in simply making things happen. I know how much time and organisation this takes along pressurised day jobs. And finally, a thank you to our trustees, Meeta, who is a proficient, efficient and effective chair, thank you. Sue Bridge, immediate past president, who's helped to prepare me for my role, guided me and made me laugh. And finally, Victoria, our chief executive, who has put up with me over the year. You've made it easy for me. You've been by my side. I value your guidance, your expertise and your support, so thank you. And now, the chain of office passes to our new president. Helen, I wish you all the best. Together with Jan as your vice president, I know you're going to have a fabulous year, and so make the most of it. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Lorraine, and thank you very much, Lindsay. And I'm just going to open up my speech, so give me a few minutes. And I would like to say a big welcome to every one of you, especially all our guests who've traveled from far and wide. Today, as I stand before you as the 111th president, I'm deeply honored by this privilege and the significant responsibility it brings. I'm sincerely grateful to fellow members for their trust and confidence in me. Your faith in my ability to represent you inspires me. It gives me that strength to do my utmost best. Thank you. And of course, I'm honored to be following in the great footsteps of past presidents. And I'm delighted to actually acknowledge that this last year has been a wonderful year, and all thanks to both Sue and Lindsay. I would also like to appreciate Lindsay's family, who are not here today, for allowing you to spend so much time serving the Institute. I know it's a big sacrifice, not just on Lindsay, but also on the family. And as a token of our appreciation, my appreciation, I'd like to give you this gift. And there is some flowers from the Institute. Thank you very much for all that you've done. And one of my very first jobs as the president is to present Lindsay with a past president medal. And I'd like to say a very warm welcome to Jan Bessel as Vice President. I look forward to working with you as we embark on this exciting journey, united in our mission to support members and strengthen the planning profession. And I'm deeply grateful for the support of the RTPI team, led by Dr. Victoria Hill, CEO. I know that Lindsay has already shouted that, but she's absolutely fantastic. I won't flaw her in that. She gives 100% to supporting the team, so thank you very much. To my friends and family and colleagues, thank you for your unwavering encouragement. And to all our esteemed guests, thank you for making this occasion truly special. Today is a milestone, and it seems fitting to share a bit of my story. And this is just a tiny glimpse. I was born into a big family. If you want to know numbers, speak to me afterwards. And I grew up in Lagos with my mom. My father was an MP, so the first picture there shows Nigeria. Of course, I'm British, Nigerian or Nigerian-British. It depends on whichever way you look at it. And so I grew up in Lagos with my mom. My father was an MP in the First Republic, and his work instilled in me a strong sense of purpose and commitment to advocacy for a meaningful change. From my mother, who was a resourceful businesswoman, I inherited a resilient can-do attitude and a deep-seated value of striving to make a positive impact wherever possible. Both, sadly, passed away when I was in my mid-20s. I was one of 4 women on the HND Urban and Regional Planning course at Yaba College of Technology. My classmate, Dr. Chime, is actually on the very far left of the photograph, the second photograph, and is in the audience with us this afternoon. Is now the president of the Nigerian Institute of Planners. After the mandatory National Youth Service, I moved to England and studied fashion design. Just for a year, the foundation course. While working as a kitchen assistant at Chelsea Harbour, I didn't do the planning, I was cooking for the builders. And Bank of England, that's also, it's not on my CV, but I can claim that I worked at Bank of England. And I still have the scars to show for it because I got burnt frying the eggs and the bakings. The law of fashion wasn't enough, so I applied for a planning job, a trainee job at Islington Council, and I was granted a day release and studied at South Bank. Of course, there's a picture, and I'm sure that you can spot me easily. And of course, there are some very famous faces, one of whom is a CEO of one of the biggest one of the major housing developers in the country. Spot him if you can. He's also in that picture. And after that, I joined Watford Council and then moved on to Haringey Council, both in leadership roles. And whilst I was in those 2 organizations, I earned an MA in Management Studies from Middlesex Business School. In 2005, sorry, I've got very dry, so I'm just going to take a sip of water. I set up my own consultancy, and 35 years on, working across continents, providing services to the public and private sector, I've been privileged to work with the best talent in our field. More recently, I've proudly represented our profession at 10 Downing Street, Windsor Castle, and now on this stage. I particularly want to acknowledge the planners who have shared their stories with me, stories of challenges, resilience, and hope. Some spoke of the absence of role models who looked or sounded like them within the profession. This inspired me to act, and in August 2020, the BAME Planners Network was launched. Today, This inclusive community boasts over 500 registered members. As I conversed with some young planners about the importance of representation, the question that weighed on my mind afterwards was, if not you, then whom? That reflection led me to put myself forward for election, to serve our remarkable community of planners whose dedication and vision shape the very places in which we live, work, and enjoy. I want to share with you the core themes of my presidency: collaboration, investment, and inclusivity. Together, these three pillars represent the foundation for a resilient planning profession, one that can meet the challenges of today while creating opportunities for tomorrow. Collaboration has been central to planning, and to address complex challenges such as climate crisis or housing shortages, we must work collectively, building partnerships that amplify our impact. Our collective efforts are far stronger than any individual approach. Collaboration must be purposeful, intentional, and strategic. During my presidency, I aim to foster a culture of intentional collaboration across the built environment. This means strengthening existing partnerships and forging new ones, where planners are seen as essential contributors. It is vital that our voices are respected, valued, and included in decision-making. Planning is fundamentally about people. We, planners, ensure that every space we shape improves quality of life. It promotes community cohesion and safeguards our shared futures. But despite our vital role, planners often work behind the scenes with contributions that go unnoticed or misunderstood by the public, and of course, decision makers. Things are improving. However, there is still a lot of work to be done. Our work, even as Lindsay mentioned, has long been caught in a cycle of negative perceptions, often portrayed as slow, bureaucratic, and reactive rather than proactive. This, as we know, is far from the truth, but the mischaracterization demoralizes planners. It erodes trust and discourages young talent. To break this cycle, we must come together across sectors to showcase the value of planning. Let's celebrate our achievements and communicate the dynamic, innovative side of our profession. That is why I'll be using my year to do something significant, to change the narrative around planning. I intend to launch a campaign which continues the legacy of the successful It Takes Planners and You campaign. The new campaign would focus on breaking those negative perceptions and inspire the next generation of planners who will become the presidents of the future. I expect to launch this campaign on World Town Planning Day and would welcome your support to amplify it. To change how our profession is perceived, we must first change how we tell our stories. We must engage in meaningful ways to elevate our profession's public image. To achieve this, we will focus on 3 key actions: celebrate success stories, advocate for the recognition and respect of planners, and collaborative public engagement. There are often successes all around us, from regenerating city centers to building sustainable infrastructure. Planners have countless achievements, and this is one of them. Stockport Interchange was the 2024 Jubilee Cup winner. We need to talk about the role planners play. What people often see is the role of the architects, the engineers, the contractors. However, planning's role is often hidden. We need to celebrate this more. So imagine if the hard work, collaboration, and vision of planners were recognized as essential components of every successful project. By making these stories visible, we can begin to replace outdated perceptions with an appreciation for the proactive, innovative, and community-centered work that planners do every day. Together, we must shine a spotlight on these stories. We will celebrate the contributions of planners in both public and private practice. We must bring our achievements into the public eye and reshape the narrative that surrounds our work, including through our annual awards program and the Planning Your World platform. The RTPI is always looking for new projects to highlight on the Planning Your World platform. And I would encourage you to submit and showcase your projects. Our profession's future depends not only how the world sees us, but also how we support each other. Within the RTPI, I'm committed to creating stronger networks of support, professional development, and mentorship opportunities for our members. We can strengthen our collective impact and attract fresh talent to the profession by celebrating the contributions of planners across the career spectrum, ensuring that every member feels valued and empowered. We would advocate for the recognition and respect of planners. Our efforts to reshape public narrative must also be reinforced by strong advocacy. Advocacy that champions the essential role of planning in achieving national goals, from meeting housing needs to tackling climate change. We have an opportunity now to position planners as key advisors and contributors to policies that have far-reaching effects on our communities. We are in a process of significant reform of the planning system. We can be proud that RTPI has been representing our members' interests at the highest level of government and has influenced the direction of travel in relation to the devolution and national policy making. We will continue to be the collective voice for planning, to press for legislation and initiatives that respect the expertise of planners. We will use our resources to engage with the planning and infrastructure and devolution bills as they make their way through Parliament. Effective public engagement is also very vital. The RTPI Takes Planners and was a success in building trust and understanding of our work, but more proactive engagement is needed. I will advocate for the following: joint activities with other built environment institutes. By working alongside each other, we can demonstrate the collaborative nature of our work. That is why we will be hosting a space at UK Reef this year, alongside the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors, as well as undertaking our regular political engagements with the Joint Institutes at the Party Conference this year. In our digital era, we have powerful tools at our disposal to connect with communities, engage with the public, and demystify planning. Embracing digital and social media will enable us not only inform, but also involve the public in meaningful ways. By using digital platforms to foster transparency, we can build trust, foster respect, and encourage community involvement, creating a cycle of positive reinforcement that will elevate the standing of our profession. The second pillar, investment. As we know, the world is evolving rapidly. And to build a resilient planning profession capable of meeting the challenges of tomorrow, we must act. We must keep pace with new technologies, methodologies, and approaches to complex issues. Investment in planning is an investment in our shared future. And here, I don't just mean financial investments in infrastructure, although that is is critical. I'm also speaking about investment in education, in skills, and in people. As I mentioned earlier, in the early stages of my career, in the 1990s, the three authorities, Islington, Watford, Haringey, they invested in me, in my university education, but also active mentoring. This support prepared me for leadership roles. Sadly, such support for new planners is lacking in many local authorities. I will champion greater investments in planning education and mentoring to ensure planners have the knowledge, tools, and skills that are necessary to excel. I'm excited to announce that RTPI is developing an online mentoring platform to connect experienced planners with those seeking to learn and progress in their career. This platform will be launched during the year, but my first call is that members of the RTPI should volunteer their time to come forward as mentors. Planning has to be seen as an attractive, rewarding career path, and it means advocating for better pay, recognition, and support for planners at all stages of their career. To our members, I promise to work hard to secure these forms of investments. I will advocate for resources and opportunities that empower us all to keep learning, growing, and pushing the boundaries of what's possible in our profession. Together, let's create a planning culture where continuous improvement is embraced and where every planner has the opportunity to thrive. And this brings me to another announcement. We are delighted, very, very delighted, that 23 accredited planning schools from all 4 UK nations have signed up to a new innovative British Chamber of Commerce Planning Scholarship Scheme, fully designed by the RTPI. This is part of an important long-term package of support for public sector planning over the next 5 years under the British Chamber of Commerce Industry-Led Planning Skill Fund. This demonstrates our ability to collaborate with the private sector to ensure that the planning system is functioning properly on a secure footing for the future. The third pillar is inclusivity. A resilient planning profession must be inclusive, diverse, and representative of the communities it serves. Put simply, we plan better when we embrace different perspectives, when we welcome all voices, and when we ensure that everyone has a place and feels valued in our professional community. Inclusivity means more than simply expanding membership. It means creating an environment where everyone feels heard, respected, and valued. When I ran for vice president in 2022, I learned something I never knew about. And that was, it's not every member of the RTPI that can vote for a vice president. Only chartered members and fellows can. Of course, many students, and like I said, reached out to me to express their disappointment that they could not vote. Hence, during my presidency, I will advocate, and I've already, brought this up to the chair of Board of Trustees, for a review of the RTPI election rules to allow all classes of membership to vote in presidential elections. And I hope that that review will commence during this year. And of course, members will be consulted depending on the rules of the institution. Inclusivity also means reaching out to underrepresented groups and encouraging them to consider careers in planning. We must proactively break down barriers and make planning accessible to all. There is still a big disparity in terms of engaging people with physical disability. People reach out to me, people with hearing disability, who can't get a job in planning, despite the fact that they studied planning and they are very much qualified. We're not just talking about race or gender equality here. We are talking about all forms of equality. We need to begin to embrace everyone despite their, their abilities in terms of whether they can move here. As planning authorities and organizations, we need to make efforts to make sure it's accessible to everyone. That is why we will continue to work with employers through the inclusive framework to ensure we can create those spaces within which diverse professionals can thrive. I encourage anyone interested in joining the framework to contact the RTPI. We must proactively break down barriers and make planning accessible to all. Our communities are diverse, and so must be the planners that shape them. Commitment to inclusivity requires collaboration with other organizations, particularly Diversity and Inclusion Network. And that is why this afternoon, I'm very, very pleased to see the 4 diversity networks represented at this inauguration. Thank you to the CEO for ensuring that they were invited. As I look to the year ahead, I'm filled with excitement and determination. These 3 pillars of collaboration, investment, and inclusivity are interconnected and mutually reinforcing. Collaboration fosters inclusivity by bringing diverse voices together. Investment, both financial and educational, equips us to work effectively and engage meaningfully with stakeholders. By combining these elements, we can build a resilient planning profession, one that is equipped to navigate the challenges of today and adapt to the needs of tomorrow. Let us create a legacy of impact, progress, unity, and transformation. Let us be the generation that strengthened our profession, invested in one another, and opened doors for all who want to be part of this profession. Together, we have an extraordinary opportunity to champion collaboration, to champion investment, to champion inclusivity, and in doing so, to build a resilient profession and better places. This is our moment. Let us seize it together and let us leave a mark that resonates for years to come. Join me in making 2025 the year we strengthened our profession, the year that we make sure everyone that wants to be a planner feels part of the profession. Thank you very much for listening to me, and I would like to invite you all to join us in the main hall to my left for a reception. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing all of you and meeting you and greeting you this evening. Thank you for coming.